Welcome back to Blerd on the Street. As we improve our audio with each episode, you'll notice that Jenna and that's Lily's voices will sound much more alike. And there's a reason for that. It's because we are identical twin sisters. But we'll always have our intros at the beginning of each episode to help you identify our voices. And we're working ASAP on getting transcripts for each episode. Accessibility is important to us because it's important to our listeners. Thanks again for joining us for Blerd on the Street.
Hi, I'm Jillian. A matcha latte and my Nintendo Switch are never far from my reach. You can find me at jillian.corinne on Instagram.
Hi, I'm Lily, and I run on flat whites and raspberry scones. You can find me on Twitter at AliseOnLife. That's ALISEONLIFE.
Hi, my name is Jenna, and I think coffee, books, and makeup are life. You can follow me on Instagram at PhillyGirlJL or on TikTok at PhillyGirlJLH.
Blerd on the Street is a podcast where three Black women talk about pop culture and other current events. Listener discretion is advised. Today on Blerd on the Street, we're going to be talking about Juneteenth, which is a commemoration of when the last enslaved people in Texas learned of their freedom. But it was 2 years after the Emancipation Proclamation was signed that they learned of this. And we're going to talk a little bit about why it was like that and our feelings on Juneteenth being in the spotlight, particularly this year, but also last year. Before we do that, we're going to start off with a little bit of an icebreaker, which is totally the opposite of a weighty subject. And I'm going to let Jillian ask this question because she was the one who came up with it.
Okay. So, what is your favorite bubble tea flavor? Go.
In general, I usually go to this place called Kung Fu Tea because they have a lot of locations in my area. My favorite hot one, and they only make it hot, it's called brown sugar ginger. And it is like spicy ginger and sweet brown sugar all mixed together. And it is really good. And then they also do a Caribbean breeze slush, which mixes passion fruit, papaya, and guava, which guava is chef's kiss.
My favorite bubble tea is taro tea with just tapioca bubbles.
Nice.
Yep.
Nice. All right. So there's a bubble tea place near me called, I'm sorry, I'm probably going to butcher this Chinese store name, but it's called Saocha. And they do, everything I've gotten there has been really good. But the one that I really, really like is called the Colorful Fruits Black Tea. So they put in black tea and then fruit flavor, but they add fresh fruit to it. So you see all the fruit swirling and then it adds like the natural flavor and it's so good. It's so good.
Oh,
I actually got something from there today. But I wanted to try something new. I hadn't tried the pomegranate lemon tea, and that was really good. And it was, the base was jasmine tea, so it was so good. 10 out of 10 would recommend.
I feel like me and Jillian like the complicated specialty ones, and Lily's just
Whatever.
like, oh,
Yeah, I just kind of like a good milk tea. I do like that the ginger brown sugar that you mentioned, Jenna. And they have just a regular ginger one for cold, which is also really good. But if you don't like ginger and you don't like spicy, like it's not gonna work. It's not gonna work.
I'm gonna have to go to Kung Fu Tea. There's not one near me. This place I go to is just up the street. It's a chain as well. I think there's one in Center City. But this one's like right up the street, and then you can have lunch in the same place too, and it's great.
All right, so now we are going to wade into Juneteenth. And as I said before, Juneteenth commemorates when the last enslaved people in Texas were notified of their freedom. And a little bit more background is that one of the reasons why it took 2 years for them to know of their freedom was that white plantation owners wanted to get one more harvest in before they had to release these people they had enslaved for all this time. So while other enslaved people in other parts of the U.S. had already known that they no longer had to work on these plantations, the people in Texas did not. So I guess what I want to first ask, because Juneteenth kind of popped into the spotlight in 2020 amidst the civil protests about police brutality. What or when was the first you heard of Juneteenth?
I probably didn't really kind of delve into its background and subject until recently, probably within the last decade, maybe even the last 5 or so years. I don't know exactly when, but it definitely has been more recent that I started to really learn about what it is and why it's important to Black culture and Black history, and why it should be taught when it isn't generally.
I did live in the South for my last 2 years of high school, but I don't remember learning about Juneteenth when I was in AP US History in 11th grade, but I don't remember touching on Juneteenth. The only time it really came up on my radar was, I know I was in my 20s, so this is like a couple years ago, but I was driving somewhere with my mom and my sisters, I think, and we were going by Germantown Avenue, and they were going to have a Juneteenth block party somewhere along Germantown Avenue, and I don't even remember what year that was, but that was the first time, in my mid to late 20s, that I even really heard about it.
I knew of, the origins of the word Juneteenth and what it was meant to commemorate. But it's also specifically about Texas enslaved people. So I'm not sure how much it really feels appropriate for it to be a celebration, so to speak. I think it should be a time of reflection and learning, and I don't know if it's really the place of people in the North to lead that aspect of it. And I just think, like, there's been other things that have come out recently, like Dia de los Muertos and Cinco de Mayo. Like, people kind of think of these as like pan Latina holidays, but they're not. Some of them
Right.
are very specific to an area that you live in Mexico.
Right.
So I don't know. I think we should all know the significance of Juneteenth, but as for celebrating it or even doing something for it beyond saying this existed and we need to have it in history books that this happened and why it happened, I think that's really our place if we're not Texans, or if we're not descendants of Texas enslaved people.
Right.
Okay. The second question that I have is, how do we each feel about the attention and subsequent federal holiday that happened this year for Juneteenth?
So I'm actually a little bit worried that Juneteenth will kind of devolve into
Right.
a day off, and you don't get a day off for St. Patrick's Day and Cinco de Mayo, but it will turn into like we're gonna go out, celebrate, and drink
Okay.
kind of thing.
The way we have social media now has certainly helped a lot in sort of spreading the word and boosting the signal. I don't think there's anything wrong with commemorating Juneteenth, like you said, but I have feels about the federal holiday part of it. What does it really do? First of all, if it's about being off from work, like I don't know, like having an extra day off for work is relative to where you work at. I don't want Juneteenth to be seen as, oh, we get a day off of work, as opposed to we are commemorating a very significant part of history that should be discussed and that people should know about, and there should be education about it. I think making it a federal holiday is like the bare minimum that the government could do.
Right.
It's like barely over the bar of
Right. That's where you start. You start
Right.
with the federal holiday, but then there's
Right.
more that comes after it.
right.
Yeah.
Right.
And can I ask a follow-up question? And Lily, feel free to answer this as well. How do you feel about companies making Juneteenth a company-wide day of service, like in the same
MLK.
vein as MLK Day? Yeah.
Like I said, there needs to be education about
Right.
what exactly Juneteenth is, why we are commemorating it, how it intersects with Black culture in general.
I'm not sure that the attention is really where it needs to be. And I don't think that the federal holiday, I think that the federal holiday is a way to assuage people who are talking loudly.
Mm-hmm.
It is a way to quiet people. And it's a way to say, well, we gave you this. What
Right.
more do you want?
I agree. I don't think that we should be, satisfied with a federal holiday. I think there needs to be more talk, more education about Juneteenth itself, and that we do need to, um, do more and ask for more, um, in terms of what happened with enslaved people and being descendants of enslaved people, and where we should go from here. I think Juneteenth should be seen as a starting point, and that we have a lot more stairs to climb.
Right. I agree.
I also had this last question. Well, these are all the questions that were on my mind. So if anybody wants to jump in with something else, but this one is, what is one or two things you'd actually like to see the federal government do or acknowledge in regards to the history of America and Black people enslavement?
So I think that bringing attention to what Juneteenth is, what it's commemorating, is good. I think that we should expect, number one, reparations. I don't know that that's a realistic goal, because I don't think that will happen. I think that the United States has a history of ignoring marginalized people, and I don't know if that will ever completely go away. But I would say that my number one would be reparations. My number two would be teaching actual U.S. history. Is a good place to start. And I think that that is a more realistic goal for the next stepping stone, and that we really need to, that schools need to look at their curriculum. They need to, and they need to institute more history about the enslaved people. And not just that, like more history about marginalized people in general.
I feel like this should be realistic, but it might be right now a bit of a fantasy. I really want the government to focus on building Black Wall Streets across every major city. I don't see why, there's a huge business corridor along Broad Street in Philadelphia. There's a lot of businesses. There's no reason why we can't have a Black Wall Street in Philly, or New York, or any major city. It just makes sense. The community is right there. It's ripe for it, and it always has angered me that people don't have opportunity just based on the color of their skin. Like, that's ridiculous, especially when people want to give back and build within their community. There's no reason why I can't build in my community. It should not be blocked because of my skin color, and people get so downtrodden because there's just no opportunity. And so that's what I would like to see, is an investment in Black businesses to the point where we can say this is Philly's Black Wall Street.
Well, the first thing I really think is that we need to throw out all of those textbooks that elementary school kids have.
Yep.
And we need to tell the real truth about the history of America, and it needs to be led by the people who were oppressed. So it needs to be Black people that are the descendants of enslaved people. It needs to be Indigenous people that are the descendants of those tribes that were pushed westward, and the ones that were put on reservations, and the kids that were taken out of their homes and
abused in residential schools.
Right.
It needs to be these people finally having their truth heard. And it also needs to be white people letting go of the idea that a criticism of America a as a
Colonial state.
Yeah.
political system, colonial state, um, is a personal criticism of each
Right.
individual
Right.
white person, you
Right.
know?
Right.
So if that's really where I think we need to start. I really think we
Mhm.
need to start with the federal government just acknowledging that the history of America is bloody
Mhm.
and full of genocide, and that we are not any better than people in other places that are and have gone through these same things.
Mhm.
Um, and
Yeah.
people make offhand comments about, um, like if when there's an attack or something like that, and people are like, "This isn't Beirut. This is, Chicago." And I'm like, first of all, the fact that you actually thought to say that like that
Mhm. Mhm.
when almost all of the places that people choose to say as war torn or inferior or whatever,
Right.
places of fear, are places that the US intervened in and caused
Right.
or fomented a lot of these issues.
Mhm.
So we need to acknowledge our place in that. All of
Yeah.
us, right?
Yeah.
We all need to. And then we need to start telling the real truth, and we need to let ourselves be criticized
Mhm.
and say, okay, where are we going to go from here, though? Right.
Right. I agree.
I
Yeah.
actually, I think that's like a very excellent point. I liked your words a little better,
Yeah.
but yeah, I do think education is the key. I think it's great to say like, oh, we need to do this, we need to do that as a community, but there there has to be a point when it is more than just us doing something.
Right.
It feels like that's still this argument of personal responsibility where
Mhm.
we're past that. When
Right.
it comes to like the environment and all that kind of stuff, we're past each individual person um,
Yes.
being responsible for recycling and
Right.
not driving cars or whatever.
Right.
The corporations are creating like
Mhm.
90% of
Right.
these emissions. So
Right.
even if every single person reduced,
Mhm.
they we still wouldn't get there. We still wouldn't get
Right.
there. It's up
Yeah.
to the corporations, it's up to the federal government to step in at this point
Right.
and stop floating this myth that if each person just did better, we'd all be better. Right. I do agree that some of this responsibility definitely has to land on the shoulders of the 1%, and
Yeah.
that we need to hold them accountable as well as, creating a community for ourselves.
Right. Right.
Yep.
That was
That
a
was
great
a
discussion.
It was a great discussion. It does get serious, but
Yeah.
I mean, I think that's sometimes what we need, and also
Mhm.
being able to feel free to talk about it,
Mhm.
and know that we're not going to get mansplained or
Yeah.
white tears or anything like that.
Mhm. Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You don't
Right.
want to be seen as the mad black woman and
Mhm.
angry black woman, or you don't want to make a splash. You just want to get through and earn your money or whatever it is.
Right.
And that we came to a point a while ago, and we should be speaking up that it's a powder keg that's exploding, and it's about time, and
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Or
Yeah.
it will consume us all.
right.
Yeah. I mean, when a lot of the protests were going on, um, and it was like, yeah, but it's a pandemic, and all these people are out on the streets or whatever.
Right.
And someone like asked me how I felt about that, and I was like, well, we're dying either way.
Mm.
Exactly.
So,
Yep. Yeah.
not for nothing, a majority of those protest people were fully masked up. There was social distancing where it was possible. There was also no significant rise in cases
Right.
and
That's right.
deaths
That's right.
during the height of those times.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly.
But all those kids who went to spring break, all those white kids who went to spring break and decided they needed to be in a pool or getting drunk with their friends or whatever.
Even just being around strangers.
Those
Yeah.
were super spreader events.
Yeah. Right.
So we were taking care of each other.
Right.
You know?
That's
Right.
right.
Exactly.
Well, it's time for our closer. And this episode's question is, what is your favorite holiday and why?
Awesome. Okay, I can go first. So my favorite holiday is actually Thanksgiving. I love it just for the warm family feelings. You have your wine, you're sitting, you're eating, hanging out with siblings and joking about other family members or whatever. Just, I don't know, I get I warm and fuzzy when I think about Thanksgiving.
I'm not really big on holidays, or at least, like, I guess, commemorative United States holidays, because a lot of them to me are either commemorating things that involve genocide. I also don't like fireworks at all. I have sensory issues, and I don't understand why in this day and age with PTSD and things like that we always have to bring out the fireworks whenever we say we're celebrating something. But again, not to go too off topic, but the summer solstice is probably my favorite sort of event that happens yearly. I couldn't really say why, in terms of like it's not like it evokes certain feelings or anything. Like, it's not I'm gathering with people, it's just the summer solstice. But generally speaking, I like spring and summer because it's warmer weather. So yeah, I would say the summer solstice.
Which, by the way, actually just passed.
Yes.
Yeah.
It coincidentally ushers in cancer season.
Exactly.
Yeah. Mine is also not like a federal holiday day off type of thing, but my favorite is Halloween.
Yeah.
Because I love dressing up.
Mm-hmm.
I love like the aspect of just going into Halloween, thinking about what I want, what costume I want, and I honestly usually have 2 or 3 Halloween costumes each year, because if I have like a grown-ups party, I'll wear a costume, and then I usually have like a sort of general fun costume for being around kids or trick-or-treaters or something like that. Like I like my Star Trek costume that I have.
Okay.
Or for just like general being in costume. But then each year I always do like another more closer really to a cosplay sort of thing. And it is usually a Marvel character.
Oh.
Like I feel like I've sort of settled into that. I was Polaris one year. I was Scarlet Witch actually one year.
Oh yeah.
Like years ago, right?
Nice.
Before she was ever in the MCU.
Nice.
I was Jubilee. I was Valkyrie the Halloween after Thor Ragnarok came out.
Nice.
Because I was like, yeah, I gotta do that. I gotta do that.
I actually, Gamora was my 2020 costume that never got to be seen.
Premiered.
Never got to
Yeah.
see the light of day.
So now you have
Be a
to do
Blerd
it
on the
for-
street exclusive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. I like our holiday choices and our
Yeah.
seasons. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm not big into Thanksgiving, but I
Okay.
like why you like it.
Like it.
Gives
Mhm.
you the warm and
Yeah.
fuzzies.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I will say that, in terms of what Thanksgiving actually means,
Mhm.
I definitely do not see it as a holiday to celebrate. As
Mhm. Yeah, that's what I look forward to. Is just the family, the snide comments about other family members, like all jokes, of course. But yeah,
it's what you
the
gather
wine
and get
drinking.
the tea on everyone.
Yeah. So good wine, good food, good family, good fun. Yeah, that's what I like.
See, we do that on my mom's side of the family at powwow. That's
Okay,
when we
yeah.
gather and
Nice.
get the tea on everything and see family and have lots of good food. Lots of good food.
Yes. Nice. I'm Jillian.
I'm Lily.
And I'm Jenna.
Thanks for listening to Blerd on the Street.